Live from the Hoboken Studios in New Jersey, I'm Tom Anderson. This is Terrific Talk.
Terrific Talk Podcast. Welcome back, Terrific Talk Podcast.
Here comes the host.
I'm your host, Tom Anderson.
First, behind the back, it gets to Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
Welcome to Terrific Talk. It's the final week of the regular season in the National Football League, and we are bringing our guy back, Kyle Lapel, to make picks one more time during this regular season. Kai, a strong week last week. Hope you had a good Christmas. We're heading into the new year. How you doing? How you feeling?
I'm doing great. Can't wait to get this new year started. Kind of sad this is the last week of the NFL, but folks, there is only one reason alone we are doing this podcast, and I'm about to tell you that reason right now.
Uh-oh.
As you know, Tom loves to boast about how he does in fantasy football each year, but little does he always fails to mention, the first 3 years he ever did fantasy football, I was in the league with him, and I won those 3 years consecutively, mind you. Tom, was I in your league this year?
You were not. You were scared to come into the league. You realized I, as a young apprentice, kind of overtaken you, and you dodged it. And it's funny you say 3 because I just won my 3rd consecutive fantasy title. Thank you, everybody out there who's been supportive all season long. The running backs got it done. We did it. Thank you. 3 straight, Kai.
What can I say? He learned from the master.
Unbelievable. Maybe we'll get you in the league next year so I can crush you because that's just the way it goes now. All right. So enough fantasy talk here. We are at week 17. The playoffs are about a week away. And let's go over some playoff scenarios real quick. I'm going to go team by team kind of. Who's looking for what, where they are. I'll start with my favorite team right now in the NFL, who is my Super Bowl pick, Kai. I'm saying it now, the Minnesota Vikings. I love them. They can clinch a first-round bye if they win or tie this weekend. The Panthers lose, a Saint win, or Rams win. So they're likely getting a first-round bye. You got the Saints. They can clinch the NFC South with a Saints win, Panther loss, and a Saints tie and Panthers tie. That's not very likely. We'll get into the Saints in a bit. The Panthers, on the other hand, can clinch the NFC South with a win and a Saints loss, and they can clinch a first-round bye. Unbelievable. The Panthers have a chance to actually get a first-round bye. They need a couple things to happen. They need a win, they need the Saints to lose, they need the Vikings to lose, and they need the Rams to lose. So not likely going to happen, but the Panthers somehow have a shot at getting a first-round bye. Then there's the Atlanta Falcons, who I think is just the most disappointing team in the league this year. Horrible, horrible, horrible. That offense, they should be playing way better than they are. You've said it all season right, Kai. The coaching is not good. Anyway, they can clinch the playoffs. If they win, the Seahawks lose. So we'll keep an eye on the Falcons. They can still make the playoffs here. Seahawks, on the other hand, they make the playoffs if they get a win and the Falcons lose, or if they tie and the Falcons lose. So Seahawks and Falcons are battling it out for that last spot in the playoffs in the NFC. Switching to the AFC, we've got the New England Patriots, best team, I think, coming out of the AFC. They can clinch home field advantage here if they win, if the Steelers lose. So those two teams really battling for home field advantage throughout the playoffs. I think that's going to be a huge, huge factor. If New England gets home field advantage in the rest of the playoffs, I think it's a lock. Anyway, the Steelers can get home field if they win and the Patriots lose. So Steelers still have a shot to lock up that home field advantage and get Antonio Brown back, and that'd be a lot of fun. Then there's the Ravens, Kai, who I love every single season. This year coming into it, I wasn't too excited, but they are looking like they're going to make the playoffs here. They can make the playoffs with a win, a Bills loss, or a Titans loss. So it's looking good for the Ravens. Then we got the Titans who can make the playoffs if they win, if the Bills lose, and the Chargers lose. So Titans fans should be looking out for the Bills and Chargers. Then we have the Chargers, as I just mentioned. They can make the playoffs, unbelievable, after the 0-4 start, with a win, a Titans loss, and a Bills loss. They can also make the playoffs with a win, a Titans loss, and a Ravens win. So a lot of different things going on for the LA Chargers trying to get back into the playoffs. And finally in the AFC, the Buffalo Bills. I don't even know how they're in this conversation to make the playoffs. They stink. Anyway, they can make it with a Bills win and a Ravens loss, a Bills win, a Chargers loss, plus a Titans loss, or a Bills tie, a Chargers loss, and a Titans loss. So the Bills don't have a great shot of making the playoffs, but they're still in the thick of things, Kai. So that's the breakdown here. A lot to digest there, obviously. Who can make the playoffs, who cannot. Let's start with the first game on Sunday on our list here. We've got the Cincinnati Bengals, who had a really nice performance at home against Detroit last week. Didn't see that coming. They look good, but Baltimore here playing for that playoff spot. They're at home, favored by 9.5. Kai, who do you got?
I can't take Baltimore with anything more than 3 points. I just don't trust this team to put up a lot of points. I do expect them to win this game, and I did like the way Cincinnati played against a tough Detroit team who was trying to keep their playoff hopes alive last week. Baltimore obviously trying to get in. I think Cincinnati's going to play them tough. Maybe one last tough game for Marvin Lewis, who is theoretically ending his career in Cincinnati after this game. I'm going to take the Bengals to cover in this one.
I'm with you, Kai. I like the Bengals. I think 9.5 is too much. This is still a rivalry game. Cincinnati wants to play spoiler. I think Baltimore will win, but 9.5 too high. Next game, we got the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. The Lions here need it, and they're at home favored by 7. Do they get it done?
I picked them last week, and they really let me down against Cincinnati. I don't think they'll win this week, or if they do, I don't think they'll cover. I'm taking the Packers.
I'm taking the Packers as well. We like the two underdogs. These spreads feel a little too high, but Detroit obviously playing for everything. They really need this. We'll see if Stafford can get it done. Next up, let's go Buffalo. Trying to sneak into the playoffs here on the road against rival the Miami Dolphins. And the Bills on the road here favored by 3. Kai, I'm picking Buffalo, but just because they need it, and Miami seems like they're in a free fall, but I don't love the pick.
You are a brave man, my friend. Buffalo never wins the games that they need or desperately need to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're actually even in playoff contention is really funny right now, especially since the whole quarterback controversy going on with that team. I'm going to take Miami in this one. Miami's played much better at home than on the road. They put up a good fight against the Patriots in Miami. I think Miami brings it. I think Buffalo doesn't. I'm going Dolphins.
Next game, this is a huge one. Carolina, as I mentioned, they could get the 2 seed. It's unbelievable. They're on the road here against Atlanta, who I can't predict what they're going to do week in and week out. They are at home here, favored by 4. Atlanta trying to get into the playoffs. Kai, do the Falcons get it done here, or does Carolina beat them on the road?
I still have no clue how Carolina is as good as they are.
Yeah.
Looking at this roster, it just doesn't make sense to me at all. They're the biggest question mark to me as to how on earth did they get here. Atlanta, I kind of expected to fall off from last year. A lot of coaching changes. Players kind of stayed the same, but they took their offensive coordinator out of that system, so it kind of messed up with it a little bit. I'm going to take Carolina in this one just because I think Carolina somehow has been the hotter team. Atlanta's been pretty disappointing. I'm going with the Panthers.
Atlanta should take care of the business at home. They really should, and I've been saying this all season long. They should take care of business, and they haven't done it once, so I'm done with them. I'm with you. I'm rolling with the Panthers. Next up, we got the Saints at Tampa Bay. Saints by 7 here. Kai, do you like the Saints?
I do like the Saints. I've liked everything I've seen out of them this year. Huge surprise. I did not think they were going to be this good. That defense has been really good. That was the biggest surprise so far for me this season. I think this New Orleans team, especially if they're at home, they can handle anybody. Going on the road here, they need to keep the winning going into the playoffs. I say they beat Tampa by more than 7.
Shout out to Mike Evans for starting the NFL season in Week 15. Way to go. Next up, Kai, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. Titans need this one here to get into the playoffs. Jacksonville all set. They are in. Congrats, by the way, to your Saxonville Jaguars. I know you're very, very excited about that. Long time in the making. Tennessee at home here, favored by 3.5. Does Jacksonville try in this game, Kai?
I don't think Jacksonville does try in this game. They might play their starters for the first half. They'll probably treat it like a preseason game. Tennessee really needs this game, and they played pretty well at home. I'm taking the Titans.
I'll take the Titans, too, only because they need it more. I like Jaguars better as a team. Next up, the New England Patriots, trying to get home field advantage, as I mentioned. They are favored by a whopping 15.5 points at home against the Jets. Do you dare go against Brady?
I kind of want to, but I'm not going to. I'm going to take New England with 15.5. But the Jets have played every team pretty tough this year.
They have. They need Kirk Cousins. We'll just leave it at that. Next up, the Houston Texans against the Indianapolis Colts. Who wants to lose more is the real question in this one. The Colts at home favored by 3.5. Kyle, take the Colts.
I'm taking the Colts, too. I think Houston's just been tanking like crazy, even though I think Indianapolis would be more beneficial with the loss, but I say they win.
All right, next up, we've got the Cleveland Browns, who I'm happy to announce you picked last week against my Bears defense in fantasy, and my defense just dominated, Kaiser. Cleveland got killed by the Bears. Thank you. They are on the road here looking for 0-16 at Pittsburgh. Steelers favored by 11. Kai, you going to Cleveland 2 weeks in a row?
Well, I would like to point out that Cleveland did fumble the ball twice in the Bears' end zone. So that could have been 2 possible touchdowns right there.
Kai,
so
that's great defense.
Close.
That's great defense.
It might not look that way on the scoreboard, but they did hang around with the Bears in that game, mind you. I don't think they're going to beat Pittsburgh, so I'm taking the Steelers in this one.
Yeah, we're not going Cleveland. Congrats on another 0-16 season. Next up, the Washington Redskins at the New York Giants. This should be a fun one. Maybe Eli's last game in a Giant uniform, Kai. First of all, do you think he's back next year?
I do think he's back next year.
Who do you like in this game?
I'm going to go with the Giants just because
You are unbelievable.
Eli's last game, I'd like to know that I at least picked him for the last game, so I'm going Giants.
You're such a homer. It's unbelievable. I'm going Washington, who's looking to, I think, go quiet 8-8, 500 this season out of nowhere. I don't know how they pulled that off with all the injuries. Next up, the Chicago Bears, who I mentioned before, on the road at Minnesota, who I say is the best team right now in the NFL. Minnesota favored by 12. Do you take the Vikings? Do they want to win that bad?
Just remember, folks, Tom says the best team in the NFL is Case Keenum as their starting quarterback. I'm going to take Minnesota in this game just because I think Chicago right now is a dumpster fire, so I think they should win by more than 12.
In a big game, Kai, in the playoffs, always take the best defense over the best offense. You heard it here. We'll see. Next up, the Dallas Cowboys. Horrible, horrible, horrible. Zeke got me enough points in fantasy, but we need to get him the ball more. Dallas here, favored by 2.5 on the road against an ugly-looking Philadelphia Eagles team who I thought was going to kill the Raiders on Monday night. Sloppy, sloppy, sloppy game from the Eagles. They were lucky to win that one. Oakland just stinks. Who do you like in this game, Kai?
I'm taking Dallas just because I think Philly will still allow their stars. They need to be as refreshed as possible. They got that first-round bye like they were looking for. I'm taking the Cowboys.
I'm with you there. Next up, the Oakland Raiders at the LA Chargers. Chargers by 8. Kai, like the Chargers.
I like Oakland.
Come on. You haven't given up on your boy Derek Carr and the Raiders? Kyle, this is a terrible season for them.
It would be the most Chargers thing ever if they lost this game. So of course you know that's coming. I'm totally taking it. I don't care who they're playing. They could be playing the Browns again for all I care. I'm taking Oakland in this one.
You know what? That's a very good point. I would stay away from this game. It's a very good point. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle at home, favored by 9. Quick shout-out to Larry Fitzgerald, still getting it done at the age of 75 years old without a quarterback. It's amazing.
Yeah, the guy has been absolutely incredible his entire career. If you look at his numbers and you realize he maybe only had, one quarterback? No, he maybe had 2. Kurt Warner and Carson Palmer for, a combined, 3 years?
Yeah.
Of, decent quarterbacking. That's pretty phenomenal, the amount of numbers that he's been able to put up. That guy hasn't complained at all. He's been a class act on and off the field, so very rare to see that in this day and age.
Who are you taking?
I'm going to take... I don't know. Seattle got murdered the last time I played at home. I don't like this at all. I think 9 points might be too much, but Arizona completely out of it. I got to go with the Seahawks, I guess.
I'll go with Seattle, too, but that line is a little high. Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs just taking care of business, Kai. We're locked in here. We'll see you in the playoffs. It looks like Alex Smith's sitting there. They're putting the rookie in for this game. Should be fun. At the Denver Broncos, Denver at home here, favored by 3.5. Kai, who do you like?
I think Kansas City is going to play their stars for a half again, treat this like a preseason game. They're throwing the kid out there, see what he's made of. I'm going to go with the Broncos. That's a tough defense, but that's your first start against, so I'm taking Denver.
Kai, the Chiefs are so well-rounded. I don't, they can do anything, and I think they still win this game. Just a great, great team, right?
Don't forget those Chiefs did lose to the Giants. So how great could they be?
That was a long time ago. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers. Maybe, Kai, the hottest team in the league right now. At the Rams, who I think the Rams are probably going to sit a lot of people. The Niners on the road, Jimmy G, favored by a point here. Are you picking the Niners to win out?
Tom, is Jimmy G going to be your starting quarterback in fantasy next season?
It's a very good question. I think he's basically a lock to get 300 yards a game. If they can get some playmakers around where they can get into the end zone, I will certainly pick him up right now. Right now, they're still kicking too many field goals for my liking. I don't trust it completely, but Jimmy G is killing it right now. Just killing it. Destroyed your Jacksonville Jaguars, Kyle.
They needed to be humbled.
Who are you taking?
I'm going to take the Rams in this one. I think Jimmy G gets his first loss. I think the Rams need to stay hot, need a win going into the postseason. I think this benefits them better than San Francisco. I'm going with the Rams.
I'm going to go with the Rams, too. Who knows how long they're going to play the starters. I think Gurley is going to run all over that San Francisco team if they let him play in this one. Slight chance to win MVP, too, for Todd Gurley. He's been incredible. Talk about fantasy guys. I might go after Todd Gurley next season. He would be good to have. Unbelievable season by him. I don't know why I'm telling you fantasy advice, though, if you want to join the league. It's not going to happen. We're not going to be able to talk fantasy anymore.
You're too afraid to have me join the league. It's okay.
Too afraid. Yeah, you're right. I've won 3 straight titles. Too afraid. Call me Kobe. All right, Kai.
Not when I was in the league.
Here we go. Always living in the past. All right? This is the present time. Here we go, Kai. Week 17 in the books. Thank you for making your picks. I'll see you in the new year for some playoff picks, and we'll look forward to that Chiefs-Vikings Super Bowl. Am I right?
We can start making our Super Bowl predictions happen this week. If Case Keenum's no longer your quarterback, you're in trouble.
Oh, boy. All right. Well, we'll look out for the Raiders playing at home, right? No, that's not happening. They didn't make the playoffs. You're right.
Getting ready for 2018.
All right, Kai. That'll do it. Everybody, thank you for listening. Enjoy the games here. Enjoy the picks. I think we gave you some good ones. We let you know who's starting, who's not. And we'll see you come playoff time. That'll do it. For a terrific talk, thanks for listening. Whether you're listening on iTunes or straight off the CLNS Media app, we'll see you next week. Kobe.